Hi, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Favor. I'm going to take you in this tutorial. Please subscribe to my channel and click the bell notification. If you're new to this channel, do that please. And if you're returning, please you're welcome back. Lesson. In this lesson, we'll be looking at critical thinking. Remember, this is still on the classes we've been taking on soft skills. And so today, our topic for discussion is critical thinking. I am your teacher, Favor. So let's go ahead. When you hear the word critical thinking, what comes your way? I know in the previous class, we talked about analytical thinking and you saw what analytical thinking means. Today, we want to look at critical thinking. What is critical thinking analysis? See, we have talked about analysis thinking the other class. Good. And now critical thinking and analysis combining together so you can differentiate the two of them. Critical thinking analysis means the ability of an individual to seek information, analyze alternatives, and making conclusions or forming opinions. Did you get that? The ability of you to seek information, analyze alternatives, and make conclusions or form opinions from the informations you have gathered. You gather it, you analyze it, you checkmate it, and then the next thing you do what? You form alternative solution to that you have already gotten. That is what it means to say critical thinking and analysis. Okay, it includes analytical thinking and uses to generate a standpoint for someone's world view. So it depends on the way you see things. It depends on whatever comes, whatever be the problem you want to solve in your workplace, maybe where you're staying. There maybe money is missing, something is missing, and you're thinking of how best to bring solution to know who took the money. You go by asking some questions, the informations you've gathered, like who was the last person that left this place? You ask those questions, and this person say, I don't know the last person, but I know I left here first. When you ask necessary questions, you'll be able to know the last person that left. Or you ask, when was this thing dropped here? And when last did you see that in here? When last did you see this money, the money we are talking about? So some necessary information is gotten, you analyze it, and then critically think and form opinion. Now, this include thinking and uses what you've generated as a standpoint for someone's view. Already you've gotten that information, then there you build your own view. Hope that sinks. Hope it sinks. Good. Critical thinking analysis teaches how to define and analyze problems while avoiding four actions and cognitive bias. Did you see that? Because there will always be a kind of a bias that will always come. You have bias mind, or you have problems that could come out trying to solve another problem. You try to analyze those problems and avoid pitfalls while trying to solve another problem. There are some problems when you're trying to solve them. People will say, is it because I'm here, I'm working in this office? Is it because you're trying to like maneuver me? You're trying to show that you are the best person and that could be chosen over me? This, that. Are you trying to insinuate that I'm the one that stole the money, or this kind of thing? Good. Let's go ahead. They develop the ability to make very strong and persuasive argument based on logic and evidence. So when you are a critical thinker, you develop the ability to make strong and persuasive argument based on logic and evidence. Because you've gotten some information and you've seen some evidence, then when you are strong in persuading, there is a way you handle things, and by what you're saying, you make people believe you already. So that is what it means, because you are a critical thinker. And then when you speak with confidence. You speak with confidence. Now, assumption. Now, um, they are also good at finding holes and gaps and unwarranted assumptions in other arguments. You see, all critical, or let me say, critical thinkers are good at finding holes and gaps. Like unwarranted assumptions. You're always a fault finder. Like some of the people will say, is there anything? I don't know if you possess this kind of ability. For me, people might just be seeing a work and they are praising it. This work is fine. Oh, the design is good. Oh, this graphic design people did it good. Oh, I love this concept. Oh, immediately I pick it. If it is a handbill, I'll just check and see the beauty of the design. Before you know it, it won't be even up to 30 seconds, boom, my eyes will go to that either typographical error or whatever. So that is how it is. That is how it is. So as a critical thinker, you will always find holes and gaps. Okay, let's move forward. Critical thinking analysis is universal. Like critical thinking analysis is a domain general thinking skill. What does this mean? And maybe it's confusing, right? It means that no matter what path or profession you pursue, these skills will always be relevant and will always be beneficial to your success. They are specific to any field. Don't tell me why is this, why am I even learning this? Why am I even talking about soft skill, soft skill, um, analysis thinking, critical thinking, this one, that one. Because you need it. You need it in your field. You need it in your profession. You need it in your education pursuit. You need it in, even if you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't want someone to employ you. You need it. Else, your business cannot stand because you do not have the skill to be able to notice things, to be able to find fault, to be able to solve problems when they come up. Then you can never do well. So everybody needs this, and that's the reason why this lesson is coming your way. Pray. Okay, yeah. Right. Why is critical thinking analysis important? What's the importance? Number one point is that it is crucial for the economy. Now our future depends on the technology. I hope you're seeing how the world is going. Technology, information, and innovation. Critical thinking analysis is needed for our fast growing economy to solve problems as quickly as effectively as possible. Now, let me explain this. Just because you see how you're seeing the world going today, the way things are moving, haven't you asked yourself, in the next 10 years, if I'm not meeting up digitally, where am I going to find myself? There are some mistakes our fathers and our mothers did. They weren't not that they didn't see the opportunity, but they didn't deem it fit that it could be beneficial in the nearest future. You that is in this generation, I hope you don't see things the way they did. You better not, because technology is taking over. That is why it is crucial for economy for you to think critically and analytically, finding results to things. Being somebody that is innovative, you think out something that does not exist and try to see if you can create them to start existing. So that is the world where we are today, and that is the reason why it is important for you to develop this kind of skill. I'm not talking about worrying. Worrying is different from thinking out something. Okay, now let's go ahead. Number 2 point is that it improves language and presentation skills. Critical thinking improves language and presentation skills. How do I mean? Okay, in order to best express ourselves, we need to know how to think clearly and systematically. Like because you need to know the best way for you to express yourself, for you to express yourself, just as I'm expressing myself. I'm talking to you right now. For me to know the best way to express myself, I need to know how to think clearly and systematically. Like, know the right words I'm supposed to use at any given time. Know when I'm hurting someone. You get that? Know the right word to put in that conversation so that the other person will not feel um degraded, or will lose his self-worth or whatever. So it is very, very important. Critical thinking analysis also means knowing how to break down tests and in turn improve our ability to what? Comprehend. Your ability to comprehend things. So it is very, very important. Let's continue. Point number 3 says promotes creativity. Wow. This makes you to be creative. People see you and know that you're creativity, because when you think out something and then before you know it, you know that when so I always use graphic design because I'm a designer, you see. So if you cannot be able to take out things that does not exist, sometimes you design something you did not see anywhere, because you're a critical analytical thinker. You see things from different perspectives. By practicing critical thinking analysis, we are allowing ourselves not only to solve problems but also come up with new and creative ideas to do so. Did you see that? Because you've developed this skill, one of the important is that it promotes creativity. You're always creative because you see things, you think out things, and then you imagine things when you're thinking. Before you know it, you bring those things to reality. I hope you're getting me. Good. Now, critical thinking allows us to analyze these ideas and adjust them accordingly. When you get some ideas while you're thinking, it will also help you to adjust them where they best fit in. I don't know if you're getting me. Are we together here? Good, 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 good. Okay. Point number 4. One of the importance is that it is for self-reflection. We need this skill to self-reflect and justify our ways of life and opinions. Critical thinking analysis provides us with the tools to evaluate ourselves in the way that we need to. Like after the day, let me explain. After the whole day, when you're back from work, from your class, from your school, critical thinking will help you to sit back and analyze, like, what have I been doing? Did I do this right? Was I supposed to tell this lady or this girl this? Shouldn't have I stopped this way? Am I supposed to tell him or her? Or why did I do this? Why did I do that? Did you see that? It helps you, it improves your self-reflection, and it makes you not to make mistakes. Because when you think over what you've done for the day, you think about them, you check where you make mistakes, man, when those kind of things come or similar things come your way next time, you won't repeat that mistake again. So you have to develop the habit of critically thinking, or critically think. Critical thinking is very, very important. Try to form this habit. Okay, good. Now, point number 5 is that the basis of science and democracy. You see that? Basis of science and what? And democracy. In order to have a democracy and to improve scientific facts, we need critical thinking analysis in the world. Theories must be backed up with knowledge. There are a lot of theories today. Theories are ideas people bring out of thinking. Out of thinking, they are of the school of thought that it is not good for let me use this as an example, for a lady to become the president. I'm using this for an example. Good. It is someone's school of thought. It is his or her theory. So you yourself, critical thinking is going to help you to think out. As a critical thinker, even though you source informations, you don't take them the way they are. Like you sieve them for yourself. You choose the ones that are relevant. You checkmate them That was what makes you critical thinker. You don't just take things the way they are. You try to harness them. You try to add your own. So when you see things like in order to have a democracy and to improve scientific fact, we need critical thinking and analysis in the world, because when it is not there, that is why people see things one way. We've been looking at our democracy here in Nigeria, how it is going, but one need to think out and try to like suggest or see things another way, that things will work out and not the former way they used to do it. Good. And point number 6 is, in order for society to effectively function, its citizens need to establish opinions about what is right and wrong by using critical thinking and analysis. So these are one of these are the importance. Now we've talked about that. Now how can I develop critical thinking skill? How can you develop it? Okay, I know you might be wondering. Now here is 5 critical thinking skills. The 5 of them. The skills. Number 1, identification. We'll come over to how you can develop it, but first let's follow these steps. Identification. The first step in critical thinking process is to identify the situation or problem, as well as factors that may influence it. You are to do what when you're trying to critically think over something and to solve that problem. You are to identify it. Like nobody jumps into conclusion over what he or she have little knowledge about. Who does that? Now point number 2 is research. When we were talking about analytic thinking, we talked about research, right? If you can remember. Good. When comparing arguments about an issue, independent reserve ability is key. Arguments are meant to be persuasive. That means the facts and figures presented in their favor might be lacking in content or come from questionable sources. The best way to combat this independent verification, find the sources of the information and evaluate. Research. Research. Research, I repeat it again, I beg, research. Compare arguments. That is what I say. School of thought, theories. Compare it when you research. You read books or something because of the problem you're trying to solve. Because you want to be an analytical thinker. You don't just want to take things the way they are. You need to like crack your head, like bring out something, because you're embedded with wisdom and knowledge. So you need to think out something and bring out, let people know that you're knowledgeable. Because of that, you need to like think. Then when you think, you read, you research. Researching means asking questions. It could also mean reading books, sourcing informations. Depends on what you're trying to solve. And you search arguments are meant to be persuasive. That means the facts and figures presented in their favor might be lacking in context or come from questionable sources. So it's very, very important. Now, the best way to do this is to find sources and information and then evaluate them. Don't be satisfied by the informations you get only. Try out something. You've got something in your head. I'm telling you. Point number 3, identifying biases. This skill can be exceedingly difficult, as even the smartest among among us can fail to recognize biases. Strong critical thinkers do their best to evaluate information objectively. Think of yourself as a judge in that you want to evaluate. That thing you want to evaluate, think of yourself as a judge. When you identify biases, that will always be there. You will always know that, man, you need to do this. You need to do this. It will help you. See, when you don't identify, it's like you don't identify a pothole and you're driving. You don't know that there will be potholes on the road and you don't want to identify them. You can never do the you can never drive well and safely now. So point number 4, interference. The ability to interfere and draw conclusions based on the information doesn't always come with a summary that spells out what it means. You will often need to assess the information given and draw conclusions based on raw data. You see, you need to draw informations based on raw data, the data you found. So the interferences, you can never draw conclusions from that. Let me use this for an instance. Okay, assuming while you're asking questions to know, you want to verify whether the money that was stolen, the one that I was using as an example in the first place, the money that was missing, let me use that, that was missing, you want to know how it got missing, whether anybody took the money or not. And then somebody say, are you trying to are you trying to say that I'm the one that stole it? You cannot just stop and say no, 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 yeah, let's leave this thing so that somebody will not say I'm the one that said that she is the one that took the money and this that. See, the ability to interfere and draw conclusions based on the information doesn't always come with a summary that spells out what it means. You will often need to assess the information given and draw conclusions based upon raw data. Whenever anybody interferes in you trying to do something, as in the person is trying to like interfere for that thing to stop, I better go ahead. And you yourself, being a good thinker, you will always have this ability to interfere and like try to know what the thing is, try to find out the thing, interfere in that matter, because you're a critical thinker. Okay, now point number 5, determining relevance. Determining relevance. One of the most challenging parts of thinking critically during a challenging scenario is figuring out what information is the most important for your consideration. You see, it's very, very important and it's challenging too. Determining the particular information that is relevant. You like, and this person says that he left around 6:30, and when he was leaving he still saw the money. And this person say, I left immediately with him, I was following him at the back, I didn't check if the money was there. Those kind of thing. It's always not it's one of the most challenging parts of thinking. I repeat it again critically. During a challenging scenario is figuring out what information is the most important for your decision or for your consideration. So, but you have to determine the relevance one, the one that is relevant, because you're a critical thinker. When you think about something, you want to solve a problem, you don't just take it immediately and start it up. It could take you days, depending on the kind of problem you're solving. In many scenarios, you will be presented with information that may seem important but may pan out to be only a minor data point to consider. So you might see some informations, they might seem important to, but might only be a minor data to point out or for you to consider. You see? So when you see those things, you know whether to continue or not. Now, simple steps in developing critical thinking analysis. We've been talking about one of the things that a critical thinker does. And we saw it, we saw the importance, we saw how are we going to become one. Now, when you want to develop this skill, one point you must do first is don't believe everything you are told. Do not believe it. Some people will say you argue too much. Yeah, let you argue. You try to argue. Do not accept everything. Do not accept everything. Try to verify first. The first step to critical thinking and analysis development is consider more than one point of view. It is important to go beyond trusting what you hear or read as the truth, because everyone has their own opinions, motives, and biases, even academics. When learning, you should ask what evidence the source has to support the argument. Just like you are just listening to me as I'm teaching you now, as I'm talking about this, you have every right to question me. You have every right not to believe what I'm saying. You have every right to do research more to know if what I'm teaching you is correct or not. So in so doing, you're developing this skill. I don't know if you're getting me. Good. Now, point number two is don't believe everything you think. Remember the first one was do not believe everything that you're told. And this one is do not believe everything you think. It is easier said than done. But critical thinking analysis requires you to leave your own opinions and biases at the door and embrace other informations. Just because you've always done something a certain way doesn't mean it's always right. Yeah. Question your assumptions sometimes. So you need to question your assumptions sometimes and beliefs. You need to question them. In handling that problem, you need to question your assumptions. Do not always work on assumptions only. That is why you need to source some information. Even though you cannot believe everything you hear, also do not believe everything you think. Most times what you think might be misleading you. I hope this is somehow you're not confused, right? Since they say you should not believe everything you read, you should sometimes think out something from your head. And now he's saying also, do not believe everything you think. You should also believe. Yes, most times you take this one and take that one. That's what makes you a critical thinker. Be open to considering different points of view and the validity of other arguments. Try to know the validity of what people are arguing, what they are saying over that thing. You just might learn something new. Don't just be saying I'm an island. Abụ m eze onye agwala m. I know it all. Oh. I know it all. Everything I think out, the way I strategize and think things, they work like that. Most times you ask questions. Most times you follow other people's own. Sometimes you check. You add their own to your own thinking. Else, oh boy, you dey miss am all. Okay, point number three. You see, ask questions don't come in now. Not sure about something you read in your textbook? You're not sure. Want your professor to elaborate on a claim they made in a lecture? Don't be afraid to ask, oh boy. You hear me, so? Girl, you dey hear me? Do not be afraid to ask. You're not sure of what I'm saying, of this lesson, of the way I'm teaching you. Abeg, ask questions. You're not sure of what you're learning, maybe you're a student in the university. Ask questions. You paid for it. Ask questions. Ask questions so that you will not be there and then everything will waste. Ask questions. Ask questions. In so doing, that is who critical thinkers who they are. They are question answers and questionnaires. They ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask. Anything you don't understand, ask. Don't say I don't understand something and then you leave it. Ask. Asking question is a great way to not only learn more about a topic but also to learn new ways of thinking about things. You see, to learn more new way of thinking about things. You see, you see. Okay, number four says research deeper. The more information you have, the better. Doing your own research goes hand in hand with not taking what you are taught at face value. Go to research more, because number one, you will not believe everything you read or you hear or you're told. Number two, you do not believe everything you think. Number three, you're asking questions. Abeg, number four, go and research more because you're not satisfied. That's what makes you a critical thinker. Okay. And point number five, evaluate your work. While trying to solve that problem, you've gone through those three processes. Abeg, evaluate it. Evaluate it. Warrior ya ma ọ bụrụ ndị Igbo anyị ewụrụ ya ga-ebe ga wụrụ ya ga-ebe. Check it very well. Like, try to know the better way so that you won't make mistakes, so that you not end up telling lies, you will not end up bringing sort to injury the more in that organization, in where you find yourself, in your workplace, in that business you're trying to start up. There are some ways when you put it to people, you have already killed them while they are still alive. So evaluate first. Evaluate. Don't just vomit everything. Think first. When you think, try to know, if I talk to this person like this, how would it be? People that they be told this kind of thing, how do they do? This thing my mind is telling me, I don't think it's good. Let me check, let me ask question, let me do this. And at the end of the day, after taking some things, you try to like kind of go back again, like checkmating them finally. That is what it means. Evaluate your work. It's not necessarily the work you're designing, the work you're doing. That is sometimes trying to solve a problem in your business, in your office, trying to answer somebody a question that was asked you. Somebody can just ask you a critical question that you don't want to answer. Try to, before you answer, borrow brain. Before you answer, pause. Before you answer, think. Evaluate before you answer. There are some questions when you answer them, like you ruined your career. Yes, as a critical thinker, sometimes you pause before you answer. Good. Critical thinking involves evaluating your work and the strength of your arguments to determine whether there is room for improvement. You see, you check. Relying solely on repeating what's taught in your textbooks is not enough. Not enough. You need to think critically about the material and think for yourself to craft worthy argument and supported and worthy argument, so that you have something, you have a backup. Good. I hope you're just good or cool with this lesson. I hope you've learned something. Right? Right. Good. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope at least you've come to know what critical thinking and listening thinking means. At least you can be able to say, I've known how to like develop this skill. Sometimes when I talk, people say I don't know how to talk. I don't have solution to problems. If they are trying to ask people questions to solve problems, they'll say, only I got me. But today you've learned something, right? Good. And because you've learned something, I want to say that we've come to the end of this class, and it is lesson 2 on soft skills. So hope you enjoyed the class. We have 2 questions for you. Good. It's question time. What is critical thinking analysis? Write the importance of critical thinking analysis. I'm going to see you in the next class. Don't go away.